Hey YouTube, we're back, and I just want to do a quick tier list of my top tier Incarnon weapons. I've been enjoying and loving the Incarnon weapons so much, and quite frankly, they're really just a really great positive for the future of Warframe in general. So I just want to get a quick tier list out for each one of the Incarnons. And this is, of course, going to be subject to a lot of personal bias. I'm not going to say my opinion is the end all be all. There could be some niche uses I haven't found with them yet, or haven't seen with them, that could make them absolutely S tier. And yeah, so if you think that is the case, feel free to leave the comment below why I'm so wrong. That's no problem at all. We're allowed to disagree here. That being said, I'm going to be trying to judge it on usability, quality of life usability, feasibility, and really what comes down to the best of the best. So to automatically start off, I'm going to be starting off with the normal Incarnons, and first up we have the Felarks. So the shotgun. Now everyone, when this first came out, thought this gun was super weak. I kind of did as well, I'm not going to lie. Can't blame them. And that's primarily because the Incarnon mode sucks. I think we can all agree on that. But the normal mode with the Devouring Attrition does massive amounts of damage, making some of the best Archon single target DPS in the game. So that's automatically putting it up into S tier for me. Alright, next up we have the... Yeah, sure, let's go with the Fenmore. If we did one single target, we should do the next. Now, the Fenmore, it has a massive magazine size. It has great sustain, great damage. It'll just about beat any other single target out there. It's really hard to beat the Fenmore. That being said, when it comes to boss killing, it's not going to beat the Felarks. And when it comes to ad clearing, it's not going to beat something like an AoE Brahma or anything that can sort of cleave through enemies more efficiently. That being said, it has a great fire rate, so it can cleave pretty well itself. So I'm going to put it in highly usable. A lot of people might get mad. This is probably where it gets a bit get a bit more biased, but because of that, I'm going to put it in highly usable. There's just better options when it comes for ad clear. If you want boss clear, you have better options as well right here. So that's my 2 cents on that. All right, next up we have the Praetos. Great stances can come from this. Great slash damage. It has some great damage and versatility, great range. It's almost, I think it's better than Cronin Prime, which is one of the top tier S tier melees. But the problem with melees is after the nerfs, they're, how do I put this? They're not in a good spot. However, the Praetos has a way around this by boosting people's speed by 25, or was it 20% at all times? Which automatically puts it in S tier for me, because I like to go fast, and anyone that likes to go fast would probably agree. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Praetos in S tier. If we're talking about damage-wise, I'd probably put it in A tier. It can rival the Cronin Prime and such, but because of its natural speed boosts, that's why it's on top of the usability charts, or use charts. So, alright, next up we have the Enodim. Great dagger. Works with amalgam armor reduction stacks for that one rifle. You really can't go wrong with it. It has some great ranges. You can automatically get it in its Incarnon form on base attack, which is pretty crazy. It scales super well. You just need a bit of damage boost, and you can run it as a late game weapon. It is only trumped by, I think, one other dagger now. More rivaled by, I wouldn't really say trumped. But when it comes to killing power and kills per second, it's still not going to be able to rival some of the S tier options we're going to have. However, it definitely doesn't deserve to be in B tier, so I'm going to put that in A tier for now. Of course, I'd rather have a Fenmore than an Enodem, so that's going to be behind the Fenmore. Alright. What else? Am I missing one of the OGs? Yes, can't forget the Latum. This is a tricky one because it has such a massive mag size. It's such a good secondary slot. There's not many secondaries that can rival it. And since you want to be bringing a lot of primaries to sort of cleave through things, this works as a great pocket acolyte killer as well as good at taking care of trash fodder, since it does have some AoE to it. And it can work better with the secondary mods, which have roughly more damage, just no hunter munitions. I would have to put it above the Praetos in S tier. I will be shrinking these and such as we go. Alright. That's it for the OGs. The originals. I'd say we start going for week 1 Incarnons, right? Right. Let's see here. What was in week 1? If I can even remember. You know, let's just go in the order I have it here. Alright, so let's go with the bow next. We're starting to get into the newer Incarnons. The bow, or the bow prime if you've put it on that. Now, a lot of people are going to be mad at me about this, but when it comes to impact weapons and the percentage impact to slash, in all reality, that's just, if it's, for instance, 40% impact to slash, it's still 40% of a slash weapon. So, that lacks, to me, that's sort of saying a lack of quality of life, when you could just have a slash weapon instead. So I'm going to put that in lacks quality life, C tier. It's usable. It has the +3 range. It has the damage. Again, none of these are really unusable. I would say all of these are, if not rivaling the meta, superseding the meta. So I would say C tier. There's just a lot of other melee options that are better. If it came down to the bow or the Enodem, I would much rather have the Enodem. Alright. Miter. Let's get a big one out of the way quickly. So like the Latron, automatic S tier. Seeking projectiles, this is the rival to the Latron. And the Latron, I will be ranking this later. We'll see if it goes above the Miter or below the Miter. But for now, just having homing projectiles, being able to scale your crits, being able to add heat to them, it's a great weapon. You can carry it into late game, you can have fun with it in early game. It's great all around. Okay. Next up we have the Vasto. Great pistol. It has its caveats though. You kind of want to be able to use this one to just take care of bosses or demolishers, but at the same time there's other pistols that can already do that. So, but at the same time, this one, if you have like the Miter, you can carry this and you want to delete like something that resists AoE, like an Eximus that resists AoE, just take this out and you delete it, or an Acolyte, or a Demolisher, or what, you know what, you catch the drift. But at the same time, just 24 in the mag is not enough. It's not enough to really for me to say it's not lacking in quality of life. Would I rather have it than a bow? If I were to only select one weapon at a time, no. But if I were able to bring a primary, yes. So this one's again debatable because you're going to want it for the boss clearing. It's just easy quality of life in itself, but lacks quality of life for itself, if that makes any sense. But it's definitely usable. So I guess that brings it up a rank that it can delete bosses. Which then brings us to our next shotgun pistol. Bronco. It's a tough one. It got released at the same time as the Lex and the Boltor, so it never really got its chance to shine. However, only 20 shots in the mag to have what I would say less scalable damage than a Lex per se is kind of brutal. The AoE on it is nice, but it's still only like a few feet, so 20 shots in the mag. I would honestly rather take a Vasto just for the quality of life and then run something better with the Vasto, rather than trying to use this as a full main DPS option. So it's going to go behind the Vasto here. It's not unusable. Honestly, you could say it lacks a bit of quality of life because of that mag, so I'm going to put this at the top tier of C, actually. Yeah. Alright, the Lado. From what I've seen of it, I haven't gotten this one myself, but what from I've seen of it, it's better than the Bronco. It has a bit more damage scalability. However, it's still lacking that extra oomph to take it to God tier. However, this is something I would definitely rather have than something like a Vasto or a Bronco. So I'm going to be putting this above right here. It's a bit easier to hit headshots. You have more on the mag. Before Incarnon, after Incarnon, you have some great perks. It can really be a bit more used as a main weapon. Alright, if we're sticking to pistols, I say we do the Atomos next. Atomos. Now, this one I'm a bit biased on because I just got it, and it just recently got buffed. Well, it was just recently given its perks that it deserved. I needed almost. Its AoE, the Brahma level of AoE is pretty insane. That being said, the base form leaves a lot to be desired because even just building it for the base form, you can honestly just rival it with a Cycron and Nucor, so it kind of And then once it already has that, you have to account for the fact it's nigh impossible to charge this thing on lower levels. However, it still can be used like a semi-torrid, but at the same time, it is definitely lacking that quality of life to get it to its next stage in the meta. So this one's debatable. If I really had to choose, just because there's other options like the what I just mentioned, like the Nucor or just other options in general, then I'm gonna have to put it in lacks quality of life. Simply for that, sadly. And then 700 energy, it's just too much to ask. There's only like, I don't know, some amount of frames, like a handful of frames that can reach 200. So you need prime flow, and then some frames will demand Archon shards, which can really nerf a build, especially when you can just subsume more damage onto or helmet more damage instead of going energy. So yeah. All right. Let's go with the kunai. Great overall. Definitely slept on for the first week. The one problem I have with the kunai is there's no prime form. It can't go on a prime kunai. It's either MK1 or just normal kunai. It is more slash weighted. It can delete things just like a Vasto, which is why I would compare it to the Vasto Incarnon. It has homing. It is honestly a great weapon from what I've seen, and it can perform well on all stages of the game. However, it just lacks that extra bit of oomph to carry it to something like highly usable. However, I would definitely rather take this. This might be debatable, but I'd rather take this over a Vasto. So yeah. Alright. Let's do one of the primaries. Yeah. Alright, the Burst-In. There's a lot to unpack here. Wow, this thing made the Soma very jealous when it came out with it. So what it does is it fires 3 shots, and then it's easy to charge, and has 600 rounds in the Incarnon magazine, which is quite honestly insane. There's really no beating that. That being said, it has great red crits, it has great scaling. Honestly, there's no downside to it. It's just a great rifle. It's great for usability. If you're looking for more of a single target weapon, it only has 2 meter of explosive, but that's fine. It's just a single target weapon. Can I rightfully put it above the Fenmore? No, sadly not. It will cleave through enemies pretty quickly, faster probably than Dim, but at the same time, it's not going to be doing as much damage as it needs to that a Fenmore can just pump out. Though this thing can probably rival the Fenmore very easily with a couple buffs. So honestly, just for the quality of life, yeah, so close, so very close. So yeah, that's the burst in. Is there anyone that I missed here? I'm just picking at random here. Complete random. Let's do another melee. The Nami Solo. Alright. Machetes. I like machetes. Machetes have great stances with the Kraken Cyclone. You just fly around all over the map, especially if you have Wisp or Volt, and you load up slash procs everywhere and you delete enemies. That being said, melee did receive the nerf, and melee is still in a bad spot right now because of that. And it can reach greater ranges. Its range is honestly insane, which makes it a very high tier melee, but at the same time, I'm just afraid to put melees higher up because I would much rather have something like a kunai or a Lido. Would I have an Atomos over it? Maybe not. It could be debatable depending on the mission type I want to run. I would say it's more so a side grade. That being said, it's definitely usable. It will outright beat any of the other machetes. It will absolutely, if you're used to something like a Nikana Prime, then you like seeing dozens of slash procs on enemies as you fly around with melee. It's great, but melee currently needs a lot to make it as good as something like a burst in or just general rifling in general. So that's my 2 cents on that. Okay, let's see here. The Baratin. This thing is a beast. It gets access to the multi-shot mod. It does eat through ammo, but if you can get around that, this thing will click heads and delete. Is it as good as a burst-in though? Just because of the ammo, no. I'm just going to put that out there now. It might have more damage. However, it won't ever be able to rival the burst-in due to the ammo capacity, sadly. That being said, definitely highly usable. I would say it rivals the burst-in. It has great sustain for its damage, that 3 times multiplier on non-crit. Depends if they nerf that, then it could be dropping down a tier. But if they keep it as is with scaling crit, this thing will do massive amounts of damage. Yeah. Alright, let's get the other Titan out of the way. The Latron. Alright, so kind of a lot to say here as well. I'll try to get through it. The Latron is amazing. Is it better than a miter? Oh man, this is gonna cause some strife. I would say it's... Oh, there's a huge debate on this currently. I don't even want to go over this, but so the Latron has more mag size. I feel the Incarnon miter does more damage and more damage scaling due to the homing, as long as you don't build up projectile speed on the miter. The Latron will really bounce around if you get in those tight corridors. When it comes to open fields, though, the miter will probably slightly beat it. The huge mag size is not to be underestimated, though. This thing has, as well as the armor puncture if you're planning to go late game. This thing, I would say they're equal. I would honestly say they're equal. They're like brother and sister, you know. So it's too hard to decide, honestly. I'm sure there's some spreadsheets going over it more, but it depends whether you want more damage and seeking or more ammo efficiency. That was the Latron and the Miter. Alright, let's go over the Ceramic Dagger. This is a tough one. Melee still in a bad spot. No one wants to go around heavy swinging everywhere. It's just hurts the fingers. No one likes it. That being said, there is something to be said about this one. It can absolutely delete everything with that innate 8 times combo multiplier or 7 times or whatever it is. This thing will go around deleting everything. It doesn't even need efficiency. It won't lose it because unless you need like it to build up faster for the 8 times multiplier. It works with the Amalgam mod as well for the Argonaut rifle that will also strip armor. So it then comes down to, would you take it over an Enodem? Personally, I would. I honestly would. It's actually a great pick. It's an S tier. Honestly, I would say it's S tier melee. When it comes to rifles, it probably won't be able to. Which I know it might seem a little bit biased having the Praetos up here when it can't do nearly as much damage, but that's just because it's a stat stick, honestly, which is kind of sad and kind of tells you the state of melee. This is supposed to be a fast action-paced game. It's supposed to be running around cleaving through enemies, not really standing there hoping that your melee connects with a heavy attack. So that's my 2 cents on it. If you want, you can throw this in S tier in your own mind. I wouldn't blame you. They're great. It's great. So yeah. All right, let's do. Let's stick with melee. Dual Acres. Wow. Okay. Lots to unpack here. I was kind of sad about the. Did I just mess this all up? I might have accidentally have scrolled something I shouldn't have. My bad, my bad. That, oh, you're up there. Oh, I'm messing everything up. Not the easiest template to use, I do apologize. Alright, the Dual Acres. Oh, yeah, you're gonna need to be like the rest of them. Otherwise, my OCD. Okay, good enough. Lot to say here. I was expecting more from the Incarnon perks, the final evolution perks. The gas cloud, the fart clouds, they just aren't enough. With status, you get some great condition overload perks. It's already, honestly, an S tier melee to begin with. If you can build up the range, if it's even worth building up like 6 form on these things for you. Back in the day, I used these a lot, so I'm not just being biased here. These were one of my favorites as well. But it's when you're just looking for a lot more crit to scale with that status, these won't give that to you. And because of that, and they don't have enough slash, I would say they're better than a bow because they'll have more raw DPS, even if it's a little bit less range. They don't have to waste their final evolution on trying to be a slash weapon, at least. So yeah, I'll put that there. Okay, let's see here, I did the Nami solo, I did the Bursten, the Lado, the Bronco, the Miter, the Vasto, the Latum, the Bow, the Fellarks. I did the Atomos, right? Yep. The Torrid. This is going to be another debatable one. This is another one of the gods that we've gotten. One of the titans. Its fart clouds are amazing. Its gas clouds are amazing. They rival even the Ogress, honestly, if built right. And then additionally the beam, it just has such a long range with such crazy damage ramp up. Is it better than a Latron, though? Oof, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one, but I'm going to say no. Well, if you count the easy transformation, then yes. If you count for the raw damage and versatility and cleave, I'm going to say no. So this is honestly just a side grade. These two are going to be, like, they're so close, they're just practically hugging at this point. Because it's another one of the Titans that we got, along with another one that we will be coming up with here pretty soon. If we ever find it. But yeah, this one you can't go wrong with. It's an S tier, that's for sure. Would I rather have it than a Praetos? Yes. Would I rather have any of those over a Praetos? Yes. Because at the end of the day, this is just going to be a stat stick. So it's automatically just going in the bottom of S tier. Would I rather have it than a Latum? Honestly, yeah, I would. So, but when it comes to boss killing, I'm always going to want something that's at least going to be able to put out those numbers. Which probably makes this pretty confusing and seem a little bit biased, but I'm just trying to rank it on priorities and what you should aim for and what will overall be best to add to your arsenal. Alright, Furious. Everyone seems to forget about this one. It is amazing. It is amazing. Even with fitting in the lifesteal mod, this thing just melts faster than a new core. That's how amazing it is. It's easy to charge. It's classic. You can use it to lifesteal as much life as you want, given that life won't scale as much as something like shield gating or something like that. It's definitely fallen down a tier because of that. However, it's still pretty darn good. Would I rather have this than an Enodim or a ceramic dagger? Honestly, I think I would have more fun with the daggers. That being said, this is still a great pick. Can't really go wrong with it. The damage is huge. It's a great slot for the secondary. I mean, like, secondaries need more, you know. There's not much that can compare to it. And then saying something in like a category of the Spore Lacer and the Catchment and stuff, so. Which reminds me, I think we'll be coming across that one next. Now, let's do this one next. Paris. This one's going to be debatable. Great damage. It's a better Nadaruk. It's a little bit harder to get headshots with these bows. That being said, once you do get the Incarnon form, they shred. They do tons of damage per shot. They don't have much ammo. That being said, they're still highly usable. Would I rather have a Burstin over a Paris in a mission, though? I think I would have to go with the Burstin. Simply because having that fire rate you can just amp up with the magazine to clear rooms would probably be best. So I'm going to probably have to go with highly usable, for sure. All right. What's next? The Magistar. Okay. I ranked the Furious because of the lifesteal. How am I going to rank the Magistar because of the lifesteal? Well, when it comes down to it, it lacks a lot of quality of life, honestly. And this, as well as the newer Sibir, confuses me since they're both used to craft each other. Would I rather have an Ami solo? Yes. Would I rather have a bow? Debatable. I would say these are probably close to what I would bring similarly. I know this can heal an objective and such. However, I don't find it all that reliable as a melee. And I'm not going to be able to put it in that high of a tier. Especially in the state that melee currently is. Sadly. Okay. Boltor. Boltor. Um, it's great single target. I know a lot of people bagged on it because it is single target. It will never rival the Fenmore. I know this. However, it can come pretty close, which makes it a great viable option. And honestly, if you look at the Soma, it's pretty good. But the Soma is getting a buff here pretty soon. Would I put it in A? Would I put it in A? Simply because the mag size is so low, and with these high fire rate single target weapons, you want to build a lot of fire rate. So you're going to want to run out of ammo. And if you're going to have a mag size of only 200, well, then again, I can't really put the Bratton there. At least the Bratton has the AoE. But I would honestly put it at the highest rung of usable, simply because there's better single target options. That being said, it's still highly usable. And I would say it's at least approaching highly usable, if not. So, would I rather have a Furus? Oh yeah. This thing shreds. And if you haven't seen the Furus, look it up. It's amazing. Would I rather have a melee? Honestly, no. But these melees are just so good, it would be a shame to put them any lower. So, would I rather have a Paris? I've kind of gotten more used, as I've gotten more used to the Incarnon, Paris, the Sintra, the Nadaruk. I think it's pretty safe to say the Paris deserves its spot in A. That being said, the Boltor is not unusable. It's still a great weapon. It's just almost approaching the area of where it lacks a little bit of quality of life, solely due to its mag size. Okay. That shotgun is fun, though, I will admit. So if you feel like that should be in there, I wouldn't disagree with you. Let's go with this one next. Another king. This is the Lex Incarnon. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was with its automatic impact procs. This thing will absolutely shred in the current meta. It is top tier for pistols. Will it rival something like the Tord? No. Simply because of the fire rate. However, just because of the damage it's able to put out, and in the pistol slot, nonetheless, this thing's S tier. However, it won't be able to clear as fast as something like a Torrid, a Latron, or a Miter. It will have something a bit more special for the Demolishers and the Acolytes. Would I rather have it over a Latum? Debatable. I think that one really comes down to a close call. I think the power of the Latum slightly puts it ahead, plus the mag size, it's not just 20 in the mag. That being said, this thing is potent, and I wouldn't sleep on it. So, especially with a Riven, that thing will scale. Alright, what have I missed? Alright, I think it's finally time to put one in the D tier. Sorry, Soma. I loved this weapon back in the day, and I hate to do this, but until it gets its buffs, as of the end of May 2023, then I can't really recommend this one. It's just bad. It's worse than the Boltor. It has quality of life issues and the recoil. Not only that, the damage won't be able to scale as well as it needs to because of only 10% critical chance and then only 3% status chance. I think the Kuva Comb has like 8%, something more like that. So when compared to other projectile weapons, other single target weapons, you can do a lot better, honestly. Would I rather have a Magistar? Actually, with a Wisp? But yeah, it is a rifle. It does have the rifle traits, so it's not the worst weapon ever. Don't think I'm just saying this is hot garbage, don't use it ever. It's still decent, and once it receives its buff, especially with the Hades Sayada mod that DE has confirmed, it will probably honestly shoot straight up to A tier. If not the top of B tier. It'll be probably neck and neck with the Boltor, which is great. I'm looking forward to that. I'm glad DE has wised up to that. That being said, it just can't compete. It currently cannot compete, especially with any of the other Incarnons. Honestly, if you have good fire rate and good aim with the Bronco, you could probably out DPS it with the Bronco. With the Cascadia Flare build. Check my build on that if you have not. It's pretty good. But yeah, I'm just going to have to do that, especially when you compare it to the Atomos, which could clear a lot faster than it. Yeah. So that's going there. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. It will change eventually, hopefully. I think we've done most everything. I think I'm just missing a certain shotgun here. Strun! Can't forget this one. This one's another one of the Titans. Alright, what am I going to do with you? Automatic S tier. Yep. I would say it rivals the Latron and Miter and DPS, or just damage per shot, at least. However, it can't put on Firestorm, and it is a bit easier to charge like the Torrids, so it's definitely going up there in S tier. However, it's probably going to be out KPS'd on a general basis from those two due to just the general quality of life and the bouncing projectiles. The Felarx is still just going to remain king just because it's always going to be a must for killing Archons. Even if it won't clear as well as some of these other ones. But when it comes to clearing and mix of damage, single target damage, I would say these ones are the best. These are the Titans, these are the winners. The next have some highly usable traits. The next are usable. They might not be the best, but in their niche uses, you'll be able to pull them out and they'll do great, as well as everything else. The next, I wouldn't really recommend simply... Oh, am I missing the Skana? Where's my Skana? I apologize. I'm missing the Skana. And the Dread and the next set of Incarnons are to be announced. Because they are not out yet. They'll be out later today, actually. So look forward to videos on that. But yeah, I'm missing the Skana. If I were to put the Skana somewhere, it would be above the Nami Solo. It's just a better slash weapon overall. Great stat stick. Can't go wrong with it. I think I'm also missing the Felarx. Hold on here. Where am I? There we go. Let's get those on there. What is this? Oh, an Incarnon. I almost forgot I was about to end the video. No, there's quite a lot bit left. Okay, sorry about that. My poor melees. Let's get this back into shape here. Okay, that doesn't look much like an Incarnon anymore, but it exists. All right. Let's get this over here. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, I'm gonna be missing the just pretend this is an Incarnon. I'm going to be missing a couple here, but oh well. For the Incarnon, okay, a lot to say here actually. Great slash weapon. A lot of people don't know it's a slash weapon. It can already rival the Nikana Prime in slashes, so if you build it for quick attacks, this thing will be a beast. And Sword and Shield have some great stances, and they're honestly fun to just run around with. You feel like a real tank going around with the shield, and it looks awesome. So, would I take it over a Nami? Simply because it has its gimmick where it can launch, what is that called? Exodia Contagion. And once you know how to properly build for Exodia Contagion, it shreds. It's a bit too niche to bring it to higher tiers, though, sadly. That being said, it's very much usable. Great melee. Melee is just still sort of in a bad spot. And before I do finish on the subject of melee is the Skana. Great stat stick. I would probably have to put it in front of the Akin Brunt simply because it's a slash sword. I feel like swords are a little bit better than shields. But honestly, this actually go below the Nami, now that I think about it. But then again, it is a great stat stick, so these are all interchangeable, I would say. Yeah. I don't mean to be as confusing as possible here. The Skana doesn't really get the range. However, it does get the damage. And it can really cleave with some great red crits. I did get a nerf here recently, I don't really understand, but I would say these three are interchangeable as for great S-tier melee picks, but usable picks overall. Alright, Fell Arcs. I went with this one as one of my first videos on the Incarnons, and I hate to bag on it, it's still just 40% of what a slash weapon could be. That being said, it is still a good pick. It has the Amalgam Serration, which is great for a lot of other builds, which is a great quality of life, which is probably going to put it above the rest, sadly, because it is not lacking quality of life then. However, that slam attack, it's kind of useless. It is useless. It does like almost no damage unless you really build for it, and even then, just use the Akin Brunt to build for it, or just use Exodia Contagion. So, yeah. Bottom B tier. And I think then that's it. Praetos in here just to be a stat stick, not because it's the best melee ever. Ceramic Dagger, probably one of the better melees. It's not a Glaive Prime, sure. If I could put a Glaive Prime in here, if it wasn't Incarnon, I would put it in S tier. That being said, it is still great. Those projectiles do a ton of damage, and its high innate combo multiplier is quite frankly crazy, and really helps out the weapon, that a melee that really needs it. The kings, the winners, are probably the ricocheters. These will always do good in most case scenarios. They're not too difficult to build up charge. And then because of how easy it is to build up charge and then cleave through enemies, the Torrid goes here. Very close. I would say these are honestly all three are tied. Strun coming close behind only because it can't use Firestorm. However, with all of its pure multi-shot, it can get a single charge headshot and do tons of damage. You'll see much larger procs. But speaking of seeing larger slash procs, it comes the Lex. You'll be able to cleave through enemies with this thing. It'll take down Eximus like no one's business, and is overall one of the better choices. Great secondary to carry around, especially in the secondary slot. We don't get many of those. And then the Latum. Yeah, standard. You can't go wrong with the Latum. I would say it's a good benchmark for the rest of the weapons to try to achieve, if not push a little bit past. Fell Arcs up here just for the boss DPS. You're always going to want it for the Archon, sadly. That being said, Fenmore down here, it's a little bit worse than a Fell Arcs. However, it's still highly usable. It can clear rooms, just like the Burst and the Bratton. Paris can as well if you're really well aimed with your shots. And if you enjoy the melee, then honestly S tier melee picks right here will just cleave through everything as long as you have the Argonaut armor strip mod and carry it to endgame. Fierce. Great damage, great mod usability. It can go around shredding faster than most things. You just act like it's a little mini Ignis or a little mini Void Amp, and it's pretty amazing. Usable, but approaching lack of quality of life. I would say the Boltor is amazing, 200 round magazine, can't go wrong, solid rifle, great damage. The Lado, it is amazing as well. The ricocheting rounds ricochet huge in areas, it kind of reflects to everyone around it. Kunai, homing is a little bit too slow to really be used as outside of a niche. That being said, it is still a great option, especially if you throw on projectile speed. Vasto deserved its spot, earned its spot due to its boss deleting capabilities. It does just huge burst of damage. Imagine like the Kuva Heck. If you think the Kuva Heck is great, then you should try this thing out. Only problem is it does it in burst fire, so it won't be one big chunk of damage, which is needed to bypass some damage mitigation that bosses accrue as they get hit. And then we got the melees. Sadly, melee's not in the best spot, so you won't be seeing it up here in the S tiers. However, these are still great S tier melee picks as well. They'll be probably, if not the best, in their respective field of stances. Atomos lacks quality of life. If it could just get the headshots, it's just impossible nowadays to get the headshots in most games, which leads to unreliable AoE, which can be a huge hindrance when you're trying to rely on AoE. With that buff now, or the 700 energy 1x multiplier addition, it's doing a lot better, that being said. Otherwise, it probably would have been can do better, sadly. Then the dual Ickers, it's a status machine, but it's not going to be benchmarking anything for me. The Bronco, again, it's great, but compared to the Lex, for its fire rate, its magazine is too small. The radius is too small. The build-up time takes way too much, and if you miss a couple of your shots before Incarnoning, then you're kind of screwed, which isn't fun. And then a couple of the more lackluster melees. You can't go wrong with them. That being said, they're still good. However, 40% of slash is still 40% of a slash weapon. So, and then the Soma, for reasons explained earlier. Hopefully, after this gets a buff, it will probably be up here at the end, or up here at the beginning. So, yeah, I think that's it. That's my tier list. Whew. I think my throat is starting to hurt. So, if you could smash that like button on this episode, I would really appreciate that. I don't normally ask for likes, so, and I'm starting up YouTubers, so I understand if you don't want to. But I will be covering the new weapons pretty soon here. The Dread, the Zylok, and the Despair, and the Sibir. I'll give it some love. I'm going to try out the Dread first. I think that's going to be a pretty good bow. I think, if anything, it's going to rival the Paris, at the very least. We'll have to see with the Incarnon perks. And then the Kunai are probably going to be rivaled by the Despair. And then the Hate is probably going to start rivaling something like the Skana. And the Zylok. That one could go either way. It does have a huge amount of base damage, and it has some great Incarnon perks I've seen so far. If there's any sort of added effect onto its AoE, then it could definitely be a better Spore Lacer, but we'll have to see. So, thanks for watching. This is going to be the end of it here. I would say this is about how I would rank it. And if you do disagree, no problem. No problem at all. Everyone has their own opinion on these sort of things. There might be something I'm missing here that makes one of these just God tier I just don't know about. So, if you do have any information about that, please leave it below. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. Peace.